We got a couple people on here. Hey, Michaela, I want to say hi to you. Aubrey, my fiance / small group leader. Got to give her a shout out whenever I can.
No doubt. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Man, we're getting married in October, and we're just hoping that this Corona stuff is blown over by then. I think it will.
I'm hopeful it will. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, we're getting into these questions tonight for your sake of time and also for these guys to kind of hear the insight and wisdom that you have. But we got to start off with this first question. It's what everybody's wondering. If you could join any athletic team, who would it be and why?
Okay. So this is assuming I have the abilities to perform
Yes.
on this athletic team. All right. Well, that's really cool. Just that in and of itself.
That alone, yeah. That's nice.
You're telling me I could catch a football?
Right.
Running that 4.340. I would probably pick. I'd probably pick being a player for the New Orleans Pelicans basketball team.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could ball like that,
Right.
And run and rebound and
Yeah.
maybe hit a three every now and then.
Right.
Dude, to play with Zion and Drew and Brandon Ingram and Lonzo, to get a high five from Josh Hart.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, like, it's got to be fun. It's got to be so fun because they're young and they're just out there having a great time and competing. So it would definitely be that. And like, I played football in high school. I never played organized basketball. Mm-hmm. So like, to wake up one day and be able to do the things those cats do would be like a dream come true.
You're not kidding. I always told people it was really because I was terrible at organized basketball. But I always told people my basketball skills were only for the streets. Trying to act like I was something else, but I was never something else. Yeah. Well, here's another question to follow that up. Would you be if you could specialize in one of these two, which one? Would you dunk or would you lights out threes? Like just hit threes all day?
Oh man, that's tough. Oh man.
Yeah, that one's.
I think I'd have to say I'd really want to dunk because I can't do that.
Right.
I mean, I can practice a lot and learn how to shoot a three, but if I can dunk, that's like you either can or you can't in a lot of cases.
So see, that's how we know you have wisdom because you took the smart route. You can practice the three, you can't practice the dunk. You just got to have some kind of talent to be able to dunk something. Hey, I love that. I love little questions like that. I just think they're fun. But also, the next question, I just want to jump right into it, is simply this. What has been your biggest joy in ministry? Yeah.
I'd have to say seeing the students that I've pastored and mentored achieve their goals in life and in ministry. Seeing one student in particular who I mentored before I was even a student pastor, and seeing him become a student pastor himself, and to see him thriving, and to see middle school students that I pastored, they're now graduating college and going on to their careers, and I'm still keeping in touch with them. Just seeing them make successful decisions, wise decisions that are still following Jesus. That's been my greatest joy. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Ministry offers a lot of fun opportunities. I've gotten to do a lot of fun stuff. But the joy that comes from knowing that I'm using the gifts God gave me to benefit and to grow His kingdom and to see people's lives touched and changed. And I've always had a perspective of I want to be to somebody what I needed when I was young. I didn't have a youth leader when I was 11, 12, 13. And I mean, I needed one. And so if I could be that voice in somebody's life, that leader in somebody's life, that's my goal. And so to see these students becoming, grown-ups and doing life, the first person I ever led to Jesus, he had his baby recently. He's happily married, had his first child. Like, it's just incredible. So just seeing God's goodness in their lives.
Yeah. My gosh. I mean, there's so much there. Even the simple thing of God really works. It's not just let me occupy your Wednesday night or your Sunday morning. It's like this thing bleeds into your whole life to where you're seeing fruitful marriages. You're seeing other people go into ministry. And that's incredible. Like you said, that's a joy. And I need to rewind. I did not give you a proper introduction. For everyone that does not know, this is Pastor Joey Evans. He is the youth pastor at Emerge Church in Florida. And a fun fact for you guys is he is actually under Pastor Drew's youth pastor. So I'll say that again so it makes sense. When Pastor Drew was in youth group, his pastor is now Pastor Joey Evans' lead pastor.
Yes.
So everything's tied up and interconnected. He knows Pastor Drew very well, and loves him. We both love him, so it's just nice to be able to connect the full circle. So it's an honor. This is one of our maybe second or third time talking.
Yeah.
And I appreciate every minute.
Definitely. He got us connected, and man, you've been great reaching out and just getting us ready for this great podcast. And I'm excited about it, man.
Yeah, I'm super. Just even to go back to what you were saying about the biggest joy in ministry. I think, like you said, it's such a true thing of ministry. Everyone sees like the Instagram big moments, or the big getaway camps where there's a bunch of knocker balls and paintballs. I don't know if there's paintballs, but nonetheless, it's like this big hype. And don't get me wrong, like you said, that's all amazing.
Yes.
I think that's happiness though. Like that's something that lasts that week and maybe is a good memory, but stuff that lasts a lifetime, stuff that is on the inside, like we were talking about joy, is like you said, that development of people, like to align them with God and what He's doing in their life, and for them to achieve what God has set them out to do. We have plenty of people in our youth group who are itching to know what God has for them.
Yeah.
And that is where the real joy comes from. Camps help that cause.
Yeah.
But like you said, at the end of the day, it's really a joy to develop leaders, develop people, and help them grow into what God's called them to be. That is what ministry is for.
Yes.
And having some good camps while you're at it.
Heck yeah, man. Love some good camps.
Right. But that stuff is, oh man, I hope nothing gets canceled this summer. Praying for that.
Nothing can't get canceled. It's not happening.
Can't be. No way, no how. But hey, so since this is our first time really seeing each other face to face, most of it's been text communication or something like that. I want to know personally, and for everyone watching, how did you become a Christian? Like, what did that look like for you growing up?
That's a great question, and it really kind of starts in high school for me. I grew up in the denomination where it was really geared towards like you go to church and that makes you a Christian, and that's kind of how it goes, and like you do the things that you need to do to make sure you're good with God. And I always felt like I was trying to earn God's favor. I always felt like God was mad at me, and I never really had that right view of God. And so when I started playing high school football, my freshman year, my freshman football coach invited us to FCA on Friday mornings. I was like, well, I'm a Christian. I'll go to that. That sounds cool. And so I started going, and I was just faithful. There were good people there. I learned cool stuff. I felt good when I left. But I was never really on the same page with Jesus, because that was my Friday morning thing. And I kept it my Friday morning thing. I didn't, take it out to everywhere else. And, so I got asked in my sophomore year to go to this FCA leadership camp because my coach thought he saw some leadership in me. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. That sounds cool. It sounds fun. And so I went, and God completely rocked my world at this camp. And I heard the gospel really presented in such a passionate and effective way. Worship music I'd never heard before. And God rocked my world. And so 4.5 days in this environment really saturated me in God's love and in brotherhood and fellowship and bonding with the guys I was with and in my group. And I left there and I got home. This is summer before my junior year, and I remember walking into my bedroom and realizing Jesus loves me. Jesus died for me, and everything I've ever done, He's already forgiven. And if God loves me that much to forgive all my sins, everything I did, everything I'm ever gonna do, then He's got to have a great plan for me. And so at that moment in time, it was July 9th, 2001. I gave my heart to Jesus and just surrendered to Him. And I knew I was gonna be one of those Bible thumping Christian people that I didn't like. I didn't like hearing from them in class and things like that. Like, they're so annoying. Stop talking about church. I was like, I don't more. Oh God, I love you. And so I gave my heart to God, and I just didn't care what people thought anymore. And I had that outlook ever since, because if people knew really what Jesus has done for them, then they would feel the same way. And that's been my approach ever since. And that's how I came to the Lord. It was through FCA, through the gospel being preached to me. And I was so blessed to have good people that God put in my life, good mentors. Pastor Drew being one of them. When I graduated high school, going to Pastor Wade Moran's youth group, and Pastor Drew being my small group leader and showing me what it looked like to follow and be a Christian. But that's how I came to the Lord, was through an FCA camp. And that's, like you said, dude, camps provide those moments where we make decisions that our entire lives are changed. And it's just God being good and God knowing that He can begin a legacy whenever He wants.
Yeah.
That's when he saves us. It's not just for us, because there's people that are going to follow behind us, and that's just Him and His wisdom and His scope.
Gosh, yeah, that's so good. Like I can even attest to that, where the first time I grew up in a Christian school, so my faith was shaped primarily by what the school put out, but I was just kind of like, this is boring to me. Like, I've heard every story in the book by now. Yeah. And even though that wasn't true, but I can remember going to a camp for Young Life, who's kind of similar to FCA in their scope and what they're trying to reach out for, FCA being primarily like the sports teams and stuff.
Yeah.
But Young Life, they went to this place in New York, and I'll never forget it. It was like they told us to have 20 minutes of silence. So the whole camp, there's probably over 600 kids at this camp. The whole camp for 20 minutes, everyone's completely silent, and it's right after they give a talk about what Jesus did for you and all this stuff. And they said, go out for 20 minutes and pray. And I'll never, ever forget that moment where it was like, because all of the week was great. I mean, they had tons of great food, tons of good times. But like you said, the moment of God actually touching my life through the simple gospel changed the trajectory of my life, right? Like, I was going to be a physical therapist making bank.
Yeah,
and that was where I'm going, but God radically changed it for the better. And man, I can't agree with you more. That's such a cool walk that you've been able to walk out. And like you said, people have followed behind you in your youth group and become other student leaders. So that's awesome. It's so cool to see God actually know what He's doing, where so many people are like, I don't know what He's doing with my life, and He's like, well, I do.
Yes.
Man, so that's amazing. I love that. I love that story. And man, if anyone catches something that you said, I think a real gem you said was God can start whenever He wants. Like, there is no big moment that it has to be in. It can be at a camp. It can be in your room. It can be in your car. I love that you said that, because the idea there is just like, when you're hit with the revelation of who Jesus is and what He did for you, it doesn't matter where you're at, it's going to change you.
Yeah.
So that's such a good thing. It's not all about the environment you're in. It's all about who Jesus is. And don't get me wrong, environments matter. But at the end of the day, Jesus is the reason. And I love that. I think that we could just end it right there and call it a night. But we're not going to. I got one more question for you.
Yes.
And to end the night, I just want to know this. How have you kept intentional evangelism in your life? And I know the easy answer is, well, I'm a pastor, so every night I meet with my students. But even outside of that scope, like, what does it look like for us pastors to still keep intentional evangelism outside of our occupation?
That's a great question, JT. And I'll say when I was younger, and I was just on fire and radical for God, the heart was in the right place, but I had some kind of strange methods. I mean, I went to a college campus one time, and dude, I was so weird and just like so on a high for Jesus. And I'm going to tell you this, I don't recommend anybody ever do this because you're going to weird people out. But like, I remember I wrote in permanent marker on my head, "You need Jesus." And I walked to my classes. I remember I went to my religion class, and my professor was a cool guy. And he called my name for roll, and I'm in the back. And I looked up, and he kind of looks up and he double takes, and his eyes get real big. And dude, like, maybe somebody got touched for God. Maybe they got a message from God by that. Maybe I was that sign somebody was praying for. At the same time, I look back and think, I hope I didn't turn anybody away with that, because it was a little strange.
Yeah.
And so the heart was in the right place, but I learned over time, your heart for people, it also has to follow the wisdom of loving people right where they're at.
Yeah. One
thing I do now, because I work a full-time job other than being a student pastor. I love leading Surge student ministry. It's why I am in Florida. But I work a full-time job, and the people there, like, they're the ones that God has placed me there to be a witness to them. And so just being authentic as a friendly face, as someone who, in a private conversation can offer prayer, as someone who can be encouraging, and in the nature of those relationships, I witness to people. I invite people to church. I do my best to just be an authentic light in a place that I'll have a great work environment, but people are always walking through something dark at some point in time. Maybe not all together at the same time, but everybody's going through something at some point. And if I can be someone who they look to, that, hey, can you pray for me? We're going through this. Can you help me, through this situation? Those opportunities are never going to go away as long as you are doing life with people, because not everybody's living for Jesus. And so as long as we're doing life, and for your students, for my students, their schools are the biggest mission fields they'll ever see. Unless they become missionaries, which, hey, if that's if God calls them, that's awesome. But for now, that student body, that classroom, that commons area, that mall, that cafeteria, that auditorium, that's a mission field. And I believe walking the talk and being a legitimate Christian, not perfect, nobody's perfect, but being someone who lives out their faith and is compassionate towards others, that is what Jesus is talking about when he says salt and light. And so that's what I practice in my own life, and reaching out to people is doing that in the context of relationships. I mean, I've got a friend that I prayed for years, and it looked like this dude, he was an atheist. He was partying and doing drugs, and just was not having it with God. And I watched him get baptized 2 years ago at a church in Louisiana.
Wow.
God's faithful. He may not be on our time, but he's faithful if we're willing to walk that out in the context of our relationships.
Gosh, that's so rich. Man, that's so rich. I think something that I really liked and took out of your what you were saying. There's so much to take out, but one thing, I was reading a book with our staff, and they say people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's it.
And that's what it is.
Yes.
I mean, you could argue with me till you're blue in the face about Jesus, but if I don't know, if you don't know that I care about you, or if I don't know that you care about me, then I'm not really gonna listen and hear it out. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you said, it's praying for those people. It's being a friend to the people who it doesn't normally look like a Christian should be, right? Like a druggy atheist is not the typeset that you would think. But then you look in the Bible and you're like, that's exactly who Jesus was trying to interact with and show them what it really was like. Gosh, so I love that idea of genuine relationships, because I'm a relational guy. I could talk all day long. Maybe that's why I'm in the career I'm in.
Yeah.
But it's this, it's just, people can tell, I think, better now than ever, who's real and who's fake.
Dude, people are starving for something genuine. I mean, that's why reality TV has been such a big hit in the last 10 years. People are tired of laugh tracks on TV shows, and even the reality TV shows are fake.
Right.
People are craving genuine love, because the world is starving. It's starving for it. You nailed it, dude. I forgot to say that, but you got my back, man.
That's right.
But because we can debate someone in person or debate someone online. I don't recommend it unless it's like Michael Jordan, LeBron, whatever.
Right.
But they're not going to care until they know you have a heart for them.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. I never cared about God until I realized how much He cared for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's huge. Come on, we might as well just preach a message right here, because you're just getting me fired up. Oh man, yeah, I think, like you said, gosh, the big, and that all goes back, it kind of full circles, like it shows how genuine you are, because like you said in the beginning, man, one of your favorite joys is seeing the people in your ministry grow in to what they were called to do, what they wanted to do, whether that be a doctor, a garbage man, a pastor, a teacher, whatever. That comes from relationships,
Yeah.
It's like you can't not be relational and want that. Like, that would not be your joy if you weren't a genuine person caring for other people, because if anything, you'd want your agenda.
Yeah.
So I just think that's another testament to your character, where it's like, this guy's not fake. Like, you're genuinely passionate about people and Jesus, and as you can tell, it's working. Like, people are catching on to that. I mean, I don't know about you. I jumped in on his small group earlier, and I don't know those guys well, but I did Instagram creep on Pastor Joey a little bit before this call, just to see what his life was like. And man, he has consistent pictures of like going to their baseball games, the whole group going to baseball games, and I'm even challenged to do that more so, because that's real life. That's the preaching without the talking. That's saying and living a life that's worth being a genuine light, like you said. But
one thing, like with this present situation where we can't meet together, and it challenges us. One thing I learned when I was young is in ministry is, church doesn't have to happen just in our group. It doesn't have to happen just in the service. When we go somewhere to spend time with people, we're bringing church to them.
Yeah.
Because you've got the Holy Spirit inside you. You're a temple of the Holy Spirit. And so when you go to that ball game, and I am notorious for like letting it rip at ball games, like woo,
right.
But like, I'm not their parent. I'm not their parent embarrassing them. If that's how, because sometimes kids are like, oh gosh, no, that's my student pastor. That's my youth group leader. They're here for me, and man, that matters, dude. And so when you bring church to people, and that's doing life.
Yeah. Man, I love that. I mean, even just a personal testament. This past week, I've been texting this one guy over and over and over again to get on a Zoom call. And that's the only text I sent him. Here's our Zoom call link. Here's our Zoom call link. Here's our Zoom call link. And I was convicted, so I texted him. I said, bro, I'm so sorry. I would not even want to be my own friend if all I got was Zoom links copy and pasted to me. So I just want to say, how are you doing? And then he he hadn't texted me at all through those past 3 weeks. And as soon as I sent that, he's like, oh, you're good, bro. What's up?
Yeah.
So it's that idea where it's just like people care about a genuine relationship. They, like you said, they crave it.
Yeah.
And Jesus was the most genuine person to ever walk this earth. So that's who we're going to proclaim, whether it's in Florida or Maryland, and all in between.
Amen, bro. Coast to coast.
That's right.
Ow.
Hey, man, thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Youth Podcast, everybody. If you want to check it out, we will repost on Friday. So please see that. I mean, this has a lot of amazing things in it. Pastor Joey, thank you so much again for tuning in with us. We are honored to have you.
It's my pleasure, man. I want to give a shout out to Pastor Drew and Lauren. Love y'all. Love your family. I love Lift Church. Lift Salisbury. You guys rock.
Let's go.